Yeah, yeah. Pastor Dad Podcast, Acts 420. We can't stay quiet. Huh!
All right, hey everyone. Been sitting on this video for a few days. That's just the nature of being kind of as busy as I am between the work life and the church life and kids and stuff. A lot of times I don't get around to it until it's been now I think 4 days at least since this happened. But this video, before I get into it in any depth, I want to make this an appeal. I want to make this an appeal to my left leaning and even those that might describe themselves as progressive friends. Admittedly, I probably don't have a lot of them. Birds of a feather tend to flock together, and so that's as true for me as it is for somebody who would identify as left of center when it comes to political and social things. And but I imagine that there are a few, people that I am friendly with, for whom this is also true. I'm friendly with them, and they're friendly with me, and we may not have a lot of deep conversations about our differences. Maybe we don't have deep conversations at all, because we're just not in that. We're not, our friendships are not that well connected or established, and so we're friends, we're friendly, but we don't necessarily know which side of the equation we come down on with this topic coming up. And so it has to do with the idea of gender and biology, and it's an appeal because I fear that we are quickly moving to a place in society where we can't even have conversations anymore, because, and I'll just reference something that I made a video on a while back. When do you part ways? When do you part ways with somebody who differs with you on something? And I said, my own personal conviction is like, well, if it's determined that we're no longer chasing down facts and looking for truth, then for me it's kind of hard to say, yeah, let's keep walking together. There's a passage in Amos chapter 3 in the Old Testament that says, how can two walk together except they be agreed? And at least agreed as to the rules, sort of the realities of life, and we may come down on different social or political issues, theological issues. That's fine. I mean, but are we debating why we come down on those issues because we differ on what we believe is true? But when we step away from that being our pursuit, and now I'm willing to say things that I don't even have any basis in reality, then it's harder and harder to have that conversation in good faith. And so I'm going to reveal the other side of the screen here in a moment, but it's about the whole biology thing and gender and male and female. And of course, traditionally we have believed some pretty binary and firm sort of things about gender, or at least about sex. But it has not been what we've been seeing and witnessing the last several years. It defies, you know, it just defies rationality. It defies science. It defies. I mean, and so you come down to a situation where you ask the question, a very simple question: can a man get pregnant? And as you'll see in a moment, I'm going to share this video, at least parts of it, and offer some commentary. Um, that this doctor, who is at least ostensibly concerned about facts and reason and evidence and scientific method, just completely betrays all of that for political posturing. And you'll see if we get to it, you'll see her actually accuse her interlocutor of the same, that he's being political. But it's my appeal is this: like, can we? I want to believe that even my progressive friends, who would say, yeah, we're always looking for, improve things, and maybe it's true that you have a good heart about it. Your intentions are good, but when we start defying reality, when we start, we're no longer playing by the rules of life, the actual rules of life, and biology and logic and reason. then there just isn't really any hope for future conversations, because we're playing by two different sets of rules. So my appeal is just that if you would wear that label proudly, perhaps that you're a progressive or left of center at least, um, and you're willing to be vocal and courageous about saying, no, I do believe that there are biologically there are two sexes, or there are two. If you're willing to go as far as say there's two genders, I can understand that people differ on their identity, or they believe, or but we used to all collectively agree that that was gender dysphoria, that was a disorder, something to be treated, not to be encouraged. And we're in a place now where it's like, if we need every reasonable, rational person that believes in these foundational reality type things to be vocal about it, because what's happening is that we're in a spot now where a scientist, a doctor, can't even, for fear of what it will do to her socially and vocationally, perhaps, cannot even say straightforwardly that men cannot get pregnant. And this is a person, I don't know how long she's practiced medicine in this particular field, gynecology or OBGYN. And I don't know how long she's practiced, how many babies she's maybe delivered, but I promise that 100% of them have been women that have delivered. And so it's astounding to me. We'll go ahead and I'll stop rambling. We'll take a look at this, but it's astounding to me that we're in a place now where we're having to try to get somebody to admit what is just basic reality. Now, I'll fully admit that in this moment, Josh Hawley is scoring rhetorical points, and that's okay in a debate. Winning rhetorical points is important. She will accuse him of playing politics, and I don't think he's playing that. I think he's playing rhetoric, and he's winning. But he knew he would, and that's why he asked the question that he knew she wouldn't, or at least had a good reason to believe she wouldn't answer. And so I'll just play this for a little bit and offer some commentary. But it's so important that we if we're ever going to, left and right, and those that are have a biblical worldview and those that don't, maybe have an atheistic worldview, it's so important if we can find overlap and common ground, that we at least stand on that, and we're courageous enough to say, I stand on this position. I know that a lot of my progressive friends are believing differently, but I can't depart from reality. And maybe we'll find that there are more of us more centered on these foundational principles than we realized, and that I think will help the conversation, because right now we largely tribalize. We wait to declare our position on a thing until we find out where our tribe lines up, and then so for Democrats or Republicans or whatever you are, libertarians, you wait until you find what your position is supposed to be, and then we neatly and obediently gather ourselves into those pockets. I've been changing my mind on things most of my adult life. When I find that I've been wrong about something, and so I would encourage. I think we need to do that. We need to be humble enough to do that. And so I would encourage anybody that's coming at this from the left, saying, "Okay, it's time for you to say, all right, no, my sort of tribe, and we shouldn't even have tribes in that sense, not politically, but my tribe in this case is wrong." So let's go ahead and take a look at the video, and like I said, I'll pause it as I need to discuss.
Dr. Verma, I wasn't sure I understood your answer to Senator Moody a moment ago. Do you think that men can get pregnant?
I hesitated there because I wasn't sure where the conversation was going or what the goal was. I mean, I do take care of patients with different identities. I take care of many women. I take care of people with different identities. And so that's where I paused. I think, I wasn't sure where you were going with that.
Well, the goal is just the truth. So can men get pregnant?
And that's it. So the goal is the truth. If you're a principled person, as I say in almost every video, if you're a principled person, answer the question. You can answer the question and then allow for follow-up. Now, in this setting, of course, the one questioning has all control over the time. So it is sometimes frustrating for the person answering to not be able to direct the follow-up. So you know that if you get caught rhetorically, it may make you look bad, but it's just, it makes you look worse when you can't just answer the question. I promise that she probably does see patients that identify as female and are not, but she knows full well, she knows that there's not a chance that she is going to deliver a baby for a person who was born a biological male. It's just not going to happen. They don't have the parts necessary for it. They can't. They don't menstruate. They don't have uteruses. There's just like it's beyond and even reasonable to have to say these things, and it's a weird time to be alive when our experts and how do we trust experts when they say that such basic building block type truths are they obfuscate and they equivocate like it's. I mean, I'm not a doctor, so there's a lot of things I wouldn't be able to speak to. One of the things I can definitely speak to, because it doesn't require me being an expert, is that there are men and there are women, and the women get pregnant 100% of the time that somebody's pregnant, it's a woman, and men never do. To not be able to say that straightforwardly for whatever the rhetorical punchline you think is coming, or ground is being, points are being scored, ground being taken by that senator's question, answer the question directly. Doesn't it undermine your confidence in the so-called experts? Now, if I had a mathematician come in and say, I am asking that mathematician to confirm that 2 + 2 is 4, and he or she equivocates on that and doesn't answer straightforwardly, I don't need to be a mathematician to call them out for it. These are established realities and truths that have been established for a long time, and the quality of our conversations is plummeting when we are not playing by the same rules of logic and reality and biology and things like this. And this has been a while that we've been at this, but yeah, the game here is truth, and I think Senator Hawley, who's a pretty sharp guy, I think. Handles this, I would say brilliantly, but he doesn't need to be brilliant because this is such a basic fact of reality.
Again, the reason I paused there is I'm not really sure what the goal of the question
The goal is just to establish a biological reality. You just said a moment ago that science and evidence should control, not politics.
Absolutely.
So let's just test that proposition. Can men get pregnant?
I take care of people with many identities, but
Can men get
I take
pregnant?
care of many women that can get pregnant. I do take care of people that don't identify as women. That
Can men get pregnant?
Again, as I'm saying,
Let me just remind you, you testified to a moment ago. Science and evidence should control, not politics. So
And that's just it. When you are there as an expert witness for the field in which you are an expert, you cannot depart from the building block realities. There may be some items and areas of minutia that you differ with, and maybe that's where the expert can speak. But when the expert is unwilling to even state the most foundational truths and realities upon which the rest of their profession and expert field, the expert or the field in which they're an expert, relies, then how is not everything else that you have to say tainted? And so yeah, if you're going to come and say my game is science and reason, I deal with this a lot as a pastor and as a theist. That people say, oh, I'm more into science and stuff like that. I don't want to hear about fairy tales and God and angels and stuff. Okay, fine. If you're not going to believe in a spiritual realm, we'll be consistent about that. If you're going to say you're all about science and reason and logic and evidence, then when you depart from that, expect to be called out, expect to be questioned, and I think it should call into question your very credentials to be called an expert and to care for people in an expert way. If you are unwilling to, and this is where the courage comes in. We know that what's behind this conversation is not what she truly believes. This doctor doesn't truly believe these things. I don't believe. She knows that she's never delivered a baby for a man. She knows that she's never seen a man get pregnant. But what's behind this is this social pressure. I know, and it's happened to me in lesser ways and to a lesser degree, but when you say things, there are possible consequences. You could get fired from your job. You could be ostracized from social groups and settings. There is a price to pay for being courageous, but that has always been true. That has always been the case. It always will be the case. We have to decide how far downstream of this sort of rapidly progressive thought are we going to go before we more of us stick our oars in the water to try to reverse the direction and paddle the other way. And so I think this has gone far enough that that well-meaning, left-leaning people need to start speaking up. The only people, it seems to me, that are speaking out about this this gender nonsense is our conservatives that are willing to. They're already hated anyway. Like, you go at any place in Hollywood, in the mainstream media, and like everywhere you go, you're already branded a deplorable. You're already disliked. You're already branded whatever you are. So it costs those of us that would identify as more conservative, it costs us less because we've already paid the price just for being conservative. You're not allowed to be that. And so it's just amazing. Let's keep watching, and we'll see if there's anything else. I think she's getting close to the point where she's going to put it back on Senator Hawley and say, you have been playing politics.
Can men get pregnant? You're a doctor, I think.
Science and evidence should guide medicine.
Do science and evidence tell us that men can get pregnant? Biological men, can they get pregnant?
I also think yes/no questions like this are a political tool. And
No, yes/no questions are about the truth, doctor. Let's not make a mockery of this proceeding.
Yeah, I mean, politics by its very nature is going to play fast and loose with the truth. That's the sort of the caricature of a politician, is that they can never speak straightforwardly. They can never answer questions. She's actually making a category mistake here. She's calling political what she actually should call rhetorical. He's making a very, very powerful rhetorical point, and she's calling it political. Now he is scoring rhetorical and thus downstream of that political points because he's trying to score points for his side. And he absolutely is, because when you are not able to answer straightforwardly a straightforward question with an obvious straightforward answer, you are the one playing politics. You are the one trying to say something that's careful enough that you won't find yourself on the ostracized side of the equation. And this is where our conversation has to improve. We have to be courageous enough to say what we believe is true. We may differ on what we think is true or not. That's okay on certain things. But when it's established science or established fact, I mean, think about, would you entertain a conversation? How long would you entertain a conversation with somebody who is a flat earther? If you are ardently opposed to that, and most of us are. That's why that's the example that's used. But how long would you give that person a hearing before you just walked away and said, you know what, I'm not doing this. This is crazy, because that line of thinking is crazy, and I'm not going to entertain it anymore. And because we're playing by two different sets of rules, our time here is like we're pedaling a bike and the chain isn't hooked up. We're not going to go anywhere, because we're arguing with somebody who doesn't play by the same rules of logic and reason and things like that. So, quite telling. But if you're not careful, you don't watch this carefully, you see what's happening. She's calling him political, and she's actually the one being political in her non-answer.
This is about science and evidence, and I'm asking you, the United States Supreme Court just heard arguments yesterday at great length on this question. This is not a hypothetical question. This is not theoretical. It affects real people in their real lives. And you're here as an expert, called by the other side as an expert, and you've been telling us that you follow, right, you're a doctor, and you follow the science and the evidence. So I just want to know, based on the science, can men get pregnant? That's a yes or no question. It really is, I think.
I think you're trying to reduce the complexity of a lot.
I'm not. I'm trying to get, it's not complex. I'm trying to get to an answer, and I'm trying to test, frankly, your veracity as a medical professional and as a scientist. Can men get pregnant?
I think you're also conflating
This is
male
extraordinary.
female with
No, I'm not conflating male and female. They're two different.
All right, we've seen enough of this one, but conflating and reducing a complex issue. It's one of the least complex issues on the planet. Is that it's male and female. If you're a Christian, we have a text in the Bible: male and female, He created them. It's just there is no other category, and anybody who is under the delusion that they are something other than what they were born as is under a delusion. They're suffering from a mental illness, or there's other motivations that might lead somebody to identify as something other than they were born as. Maybe attention, maybe just to be a provocateur, maybe to be an activist in some way. I think there's all sorts of things that might motivate that. It's certainly, we see even socially when a movement gains traction, more people begin to identify with that. And is that because they would have if they were in a vacuum by themselves? No, they probably wouldn't have. It appealed to them. The movement appealed to them, and they decided to jump on. Now, some people, the rest of them, I think, are motivated by a real dysphoria, a real mental illness that has them believing something so backwards that they are willing to go mutilate their bodies irreversibly to pursue this. Now, I want to, as a Christian, as a pastor, I want to bring this in too. Like this is not just a matter of which side of the aisle do you fall on with this discussion. I don't think it's loving to encourage this. And so while I, as a conservative, Bible believing Christian, I'm automatically cast in that like curmudgeon, unloving light. Never mind, most of my free time is spent on other people, but I don't need anybody to mention that or think about it. But that's the reality. And the way that I love people oftentimes is not to encourage them in the thing that they're doing that's wrong or harmful, particularly if they're taking irreversible steps and measures to harm themselves. And so I would actually turn this around and say it's not the unloving approach to not agree with this. It's actually, it would be the far easier approach, because we would not be cast as the mean and curmudgeonly types. It would be the easiest thing in the world to just accept it and say, yeah, I go ahead and do you. I think the more loving thing and the more courageous thing is actually to step up and say, no, this I think you need help, and I want to help you to get help. Nobody in their right mind would look at somebody who is an alcoholic and say, I want to help you by offering you another beer. Like but this is what we're doing. I think true love, first and foremost, true love for any person tells them the truth. True love starts with truth, and now we can deliver truth in an unloving way, that's for sure. But true love at least starts with truth being a real concern. Now, this is not something that has not come up a number of times before, and it's frightening how many elites in society who, with so much power and so much influence, can't answer basic questions. You may recall back a number of years ago when the Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson was questioned about what a woman was, and she couldn't define it, wouldn't define it, because she wasn't a biologist. Check this out.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition? No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the
biologist.
meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you,
I'm not a biologist. Again, I don't need to be a mathematician to know that basic fundamentals of math apply. I don't need to be a mathematician to know that that 2 + 2 is 4. And I don't need to be a mathematician to call somebody out that says 2 + 2 is 5. I just have to be acquainted with some basic facts. And again, it calls into question. This is what Senator Blackburn is doing here. Calling into question a person's veracity and trustworthiness if they're willing to dance around and never tell the truth on such basic things. So my appeal, again, this video is an appeal. I didn't mean for it to be a divisive video. It certainly will be for some people, and I'm sure I'll get those comments. But I think we're at a sort of watershed moment in society where we can continue to have conversations if and only if we can determine that all sides that want all parties that want a seat at the table where we discuss these ideas actually want the same thing, that we want truth and reality to prevail. And in this case, those that are pushing this this gender, bending and denying anti-scientific stuff are really harming the conversation, our ability to converse at all about anything. So this is my appeal. If you are willing to stand and be counted among those of us who will speak truth to these lies, you will do good for the conversation, but more importantly, you can do good for those that are struggling in this area. Because the last thing that we should do is encourage a person in their delusion, and that's precisely what this is. And I don't mean to be unfeeling about it. I don't mean to be cruel about it. I mean to be loving about it, because that's where true love starts, is telling the truth. So it should not be a political talking point to believe in male and female. It shouldn't be a conservative thing. It should be a human thing. And for those that are confused about it, we should seek for their help for them. And the way that we think we help them is to not pretend that we believe other than we believe. And so I hope that more of my left-leaning friends will join this conversation and have the courage to admit, I'm going to part ways with those who I've historically been aligned with, because when you say crazy things, it doesn't matter whether it's left or right that says it. Crazy things are crazy things. So anyway, we'll come back hopefully in the next few days with another video. But for now, this is Pastor Dad signing off. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Yeah. Pastor Dad Podcast. Acts 4:20. We can't stay quiet. Huh! Hey! Ho! Bible open on the table. News feed burning on my phone. Kids watching, I'm accountable for what I call truth at home. Faith in the middle of the chaos. Christ over parties and polls. If the culture wanna press us, confess us, we speak what we've seen, and we know we cannot.